You ever have one of those moments where a company that you generally dislike or dislike the practices of is attacked, but you don't feel happy about it because the way that they're attacked is almost worse than the activities of said company itself? That is what's going on for me right now. I'm having one of those weird internal struggles that I'm having a hard time coming to terms with. I'm not a fan of Facebook. I've never been a fan of Facebook. I dislike some of the way they handle personal data. I dislike our people's over reliance on it. I dislike how they present information. There's so many problems with Facebook, just so many. I'm also just generally not a huge fan of the concept behind Facebook. But yet, there are ways in which Facebook is currently being attacked right now that I dislike even more. Case in point, the United Kingdom today, this February 18th today, dropped a big report. They've done an investigation inside the United Kingdom, the government of the United Kingdom, and that report has determined that Facebook should not be allowed to govern itself anymore going forward. This is an 18-month-long investigation. This one's from The Verge I'm reading. And it says Facebook should no longer be allowed to govern itself. And it's time for the government, the UK government in this case, to step in as the cop on the beat, according to a new parliamentary report released tonight by the United Kingdom. The Digital Culture, Media and Sports Select Committee of the UK Parliament has published its final report after more than 18 months of investigation into Facebook and its privacy practices. Members of Parliament have requested that social media companies be required to remove harmful or illegal content on their platforms and be held liable for it according to a compulsory code of ethics, a policy that has been hotly contested in the United States. This new report, this goes on to say, lays the groundwork for further legislation that could officially codify these requests into law. Our inquiry over the last year has identified three big threats to our society. Damian Collins, DCMS chair, the Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee chair, who has led this investigation, said the challenge for the year ahead is to start to fix them. We cannot delay any longer. And this is fascinating to me. I've been kind of watching a lot of the British press and seeing how they handle Facebook and Twitter and all social media. It's very focused on Facebook. I mean, Twitter is getting a lot of attention as well, but Facebook is getting the bulk of the attention in the press. And I've noticed a continual repeating pattern. That is that the UK press, primarily the BBC and The Guardian, have been pushing for Facebook not allowing certain types of speech online and not allowing certain communities to exist online. And just to give you two examples that I find the most interesting, this is a report from The Guardian. This one isn't about Facebook, it's about YouTube. But they've had similar ones on Facebook. I'll get to Facebook one next. And this one about YouTube says, study blames YouTube for rise in number of flat earthers. Conspiracy theories shown on video sharing site persuade people to doubt the earth is round. I'm like, okay, well, anyone who thinks the earth is round, which I would put myself in that bucket, would look at this and say, well, I think people should think the earth is round. However, as you go through the article, it really heavily pushes for regulation of YouTube by the government in order to not allow people to see content that would suggest the earth is flat. Which, while I don't think the earth is flat, why would we be having the government step in to not allow people to see that? The article says, and this is from, again, The Guardian, researchers believe that they have identified the prime driver for a startling rise. As soon as you start adding in things like startling rise or it's bombshell allegations, you start adding in certain words, you're kind of giving away, just as a cue to The Guardian and the author of this piece, you're giving away what your viewpoint is pretty strongly. There's no even doubt that you have a clear motive here. Please remember that going forward. Startling rise, in the number of people who think the earth is flat. Google's video sharing site, YouTube. Their suspicion was raised when they attended the world's largest gatherings of flat earthers at the movement's annual conference in Raleigh, North Carolina, and then in Denver, Colorado last year. Basically, it goes on to say that they interviewed like 30 people and they all said it was YouTube. So it's YouTube. And that was fascinating to me. Going down here a little bit. This is a bit from the article here. There's a lot of helpful information on YouTube, but also a lot of misinformation. Their algorithms make it easy to end up going down the rabbit hole by presenting information to people who are going to be more susceptible to it. This quote continues, "Believing the earth is flat in and of itself is not harmful, but it comes packaged with a distrust in institutions and authority more generally. We want people to be critical consumers of the information they are given, but there is a balance to be had." This is from a person named, Landrum, who was doing this personal study. That's where that quote came from. And the article kind of agrees with that. It kind of goes along with that, it's concerning. Not so much. And again, they make it very clear. It's not concerning to them that someone might think the earth is flat, because let's be honest, that doesn't really harm me in any way. If Ted down the street thinks the earth has doesn't conform to the realities of pi, or there's no ball there, right? If they think that, it doesn't really hurt me at all. Where they make it clear the problem is that people will then potentially not believe everything that they're told. That's where the problem is, according to The Guardian and the researchers. That raises about 11 million red flags for me. I'm sorry, but people should be skeptical. And The Guardian and a huge amount of the British press are making the point that people should not be skeptical. People should think whatever they are told. And whether people want to believe in the flat earth theory or not, I really couldn't care less. You notice I don't think I've ever brought it up on this show before, because I just don't care. But pushing for a modification to an entire platform, which this goes on to do, to not show people that content, is very, very disturbing. The Guardian also, and this was just last week, and The Guardian also has another article in the last week. It's been a nonstop onslaught, especially over the last week to 2 weeks, of articles talking in the British press, talking about how we must control online services to not allow people to discuss certain topics. Here's another one. Facebook under pressure to halt rise of anti-vaccination groups. Experts are calling on company to consider to counter closed groups where members can post misinformation without challenge. Now what this is, and this is also from The Guardian. You can go look it up based on the title there. But what it is basically saying is that there are within Facebook closed groups. You can create a group of people that is a group on Facebook that's closed. So it's just like a club or a family group or what have you. And there are groups on Facebook that discuss topics. What The Guardian is saying is if those topics are disagreed with by The Guardian or other people, that Facebook should not allow those groups to be closed. They should allow outside people to come in and yell at the people who are discussing any topic, whether it's vaccinations or apparently maybe flat earth theories or political affiliations, sexual orientations, anything that people don't disagree with. They should be able to come into Facebook and scream and yell and swear and rant at each other, because people don't have the rights to be able to discuss things in a closed setting. That is literally what the Guardian is proposing here, and that does seem to be backed up by the United Kingdom's understanding of what they come to about Facebook and other social media, that it must be regulated at the government level to not allow people to discuss certain topics, and certainly not in certain ways. That is highly, highly disturbing to me. Regardless of whether I believe in any of the examples that are given here or the many others that have been given over the course of the last several weeks in the British press, it doesn't even really matter. Eventually, someone's going to disagree with something that I am or I like, right? Where does it stop? How about this? What they're talking about in terms of flat earth theory, right? Benign. Really benign. It's a benign belief that really doesn't harm anyone near as I can tell. If I'm wrong about that, someone show me where that hurts someone, right? As far as I can tell, it doesn't hurt anyone. It's just an idea that I disagree with for very, very specific reasons. But who am I to tell someone what they can or can't think? If it's something as simple and benign as that, means that you are grounds for either being kicked off of a platform or shadow banned or not allowed to have your stuff be seen. What about religious content? There's inevitably going to be some group of people who are like, what? People who are Christian or Buddhist or Muslim or Jewish or any other faith on the planet, that's not scientifically sound. We must not allow them on the platform. Okay. Now, I mean, it's really not a big jump to there once you're already saying, well, we can't allow people to discuss in closed settings what they want to do vis-a-vis vaccinations for their children, what they want to do in terms of believing what the circumference of the earth is, if it has a circumference, right? Once we're talking about, I disagree with that person's facts, so therefore they should not be allowed to discuss it, we're quickly going down a road of what other facts do we disagree with. I know a lot of people who vehemently and almost violently disagree with the politics of people on the other side of the aisle from them, right? Democrats who think that Republicans are evil, Republicans who think that Democrats are evil. The same is happening in the UK. Oh, the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, they're all evil. They want evil things. They're factually wrong about everything. And when I say they, I mean apparently everybody. If you listen to social media, to Twitter, to the news, to Facebook, to YouTube, to all of it, everyone who's not the person speaking is factually wrong. Therefore, all of it must be outlawed according to what the UK is talking about right now. So what we end up with is a place where the internet is only allowed for things like, I don't know, talking about video games. But no, we couldn't even talk about that. Talking about video games gets all people worked up as well. So we can't really talk about video games. How about action figures, like collectible, like He-Man action figures? There are people that aren't going to like that too. And some people that would prefer She-Ra over He-Man or Voltron. So we can't allow He-Man action figures, certainly not in a closed environment where people aren't allowed to yell at them constantly. I mean, come on. This is the road we're going down. And it is terribly, terribly disturbing. Now, me personally, I am not opposed to censorship. I'm truly not. But there's a line there. And I want to make this very, very clear. In my opinion, if, let's say Twitter, as an example, let's say Twitter wanted to make a rule where they outlawed naughty words, right? Certain words that start with F or B or whatnot, right? And they said, we want to outlaw certain swear words. Okay. You know what? It's their platform. They get to decide what the rules are for discussing things on the platform. And I would support that. I would also support Twitter saying, we want to encourage swear words. Nothing but swear words. We don't want people to not see swear words. Personally, I'm not a big fan of swearing a whole bunch on social media because, kids might see it and whatnot. But that said, it's Twitter's platform. Who am I to argue with them? I have argued many times in the past, over the past many years, in the defense of websites and people that I vehemently disagree with. There have been websites that have gone under attack that literally those websites hate me as a person. And I've come to the defense of those websites. And I will continue to do that sort of thing because it is their right to have whatever mean, angry idea that's anti-me or anti-people like me that they want to have. As long as they're not doing anything illegal, I'm fine with that. Like, they're not threatening anyone physically, I'm okay with that. The moment they do that, then they step off the rails. But when I look at what's happening right now, where the UK government actively is looking to not just censor, but completely control on these massive publishing platforms what can be published, what can be seen, and who can be allowed to publish it and who can be allowed to comment on it, that's a problem. That's a huge, huge problem. I hate to use the phrase, but it is a darn slippery slope from there to something very, very, very scary. I would suggest anyone who thinks that this is potentially a good idea to do a quick Google search, DuckDuckGo search, or heck, Bing it. Type in 1984 quotes. Because Orwell's 1984 is, while perhaps a cliched book to recommend when we're talking about such things, is a good one. And it is infinitely quotable. All other things aside, regardless of what you feel about the book itself, and it's a great book, as you read through it, man, it is just like it was written to be chunked up into quotes. Like every other sentence and paragraph is like a great quote. But read through it and read through all the quotes that people have pulled out from it. Holy moly. It describes basically what we're seeing now. If you can control, and I'm going to butcher this quote, but the person who controls the past controls the future. And the person who controls the present controls the past. If you can control, as the UK government or any other institution, what people see, what people have the ability to talk about, you control history. You control people's perception of history and the past, which means you control the future. There is no reason to do this other than to control the future. And that is terribly, terribly disappointing. Terribly disappointing. Now, many people will say, well, this is spurred on by, people using these platforms in ways that are harmful to us. It's Russians that are using it to change the outcome of elections. Well, if you go through, don't necessarily even worry about the numbers so much, because the numbers are small. The reality is the advertisements, the United States, and this is just for the United States one, the advertisements that were placed on Facebook purportedly by Russia or Russian operatives, they spent an incredibly tiny amount of money on it. And the specific ads, and those ads are listed, you can find them and look at screenshots of all of them, are ridiculous, viewed by very few people, and could not have in any way swayed anybody. In fact, one of the ads was literally, and this is not a joke, you guys can look this up, I recommend it. It is a fake coloring book page. I guess it's not a fake coloring book, it's a real coloring book page, it just wasn't printed, of Bernie Sanders without his shirt on at the beach. he's like all ripped, but it's just like a coloring thing. It's like a little coloring book page. What human being is going to look at a coloring book page of Bernie Sanders without his shirt on and think, I was going to vote for this person, but now I'm voting for this other person? And neither of the two were Bernie Sanders. Like, 'cause you have to say, in order for you to, for any of us to honestly believe that Facebook was used dramatically to alter outcomes of elections, we have to agree that a coloring book cartoon of Bernie Sanders on a beach has to dramatically sway how people vote. You have to agree to that. Otherwise, all that's thrown out the window, and we all just have to agree, okay, maybe running cheesy Facebook ads, regardless of who posted them, isn't going to necessarily sway anyone. I also don't know a single human being that read anything on Facebook, anything, any angry Facebook posts, anything, and instantly thought, I'm going to change how I voted because of that person who swore a lot about this other politician. I've never met that human being. So while I agree, Facebook has problems, Twitter has problems, inherent design issues, plus issues with data security and privacy, plus issues with how they handle our data and sell it to others, plus how they display information to people. All of those are problems, huge problems that honestly the executives at Facebook and Twitter and whatnot should be absolutely ashamed of themselves for. What they've done is disgraceful and just awful. But the way the United Kingdom government and apparently the UK press, who I don't know how they couldn't be working with the UK government on this because their talking points were all in sync. And a lot of the words used by like The Guardian and the BBC later are used in the report that the UK released this morning. They had to have been talking to each other. I don't see how it's possible they weren't. The approach they're taking is even more frightening. So there's that. This episode of Lunduk is Concerned for Our Future is brought to you in part by Lulzbot 3D printers. If you buy a 3D printer, you know what's cool about it? Everything. Because you can then 3D print things. And that's way more rad than I thought it could possibly be. Let's start with this. Do you need a cookie cutter? Yes, you eventually do. Do you want it to be in whatever shape the local Target gives you? No. You want to be able to go online to a site like the Thingiverse. If you don't know Thingiverse, thingiverse.com. It's awesome. It's basically just 3D models that are ready to print out for anything. Cases for Raspberry Pis, train tracks for your kids' toy trains. I do those constantly. Cookie cutters, ornaments, what have you, little toys. I did a little solar system, mechanical model of the solar system, and an orrery. I can't quite say the name properly because my mouth doesn't make the right sounds. But like a little mechanical version of that. Oh, I found one. And the model for that orrery wasn't quite right. So I did need to like shrink one of the pieces down ever so slightly. But that was super easy to do. And boom, after, a couple hours of a 3D printer churning away, I then had a multicolor, partially wood-based little 3D model of the solar system. I wouldn't have had that otherwise. It's just so awesome. Go to lulzbot.com. They've got different 3D printers to fit different budget sizes, different tool heads, different 3D print nozzles and filament types. It's awesome. Lulzbot.com. And then go over to lunduk.com, which is just the simplest website that was ever invented. Doesn't track you in any way. Doesn't limit what you can or can't share from it because it's literally just one page with no JavaScript of any kind. And there's links. You can watch this show on YouTube. You can watch this show on LBRY, which is actually kind of cool. It's this distributed blockchainy sort of distributed. I said distributed twice. Now I've said it 3 times. Holy moly. Sort of video sharing service. And what's really cool about it, honestly, it is really neat, is you can subscribe to my channel there. There's a link that there. It's just at Lunduk on LBRY, and it's an application that runs. And when you want to grab those videos, it downloads the MP4. It just downloads it. There's no DRM. You just download the video. Because I do not believe in DRM. I don't like DRM. I don't like things that are closed source. And so LBRY, boop, goes out, fetches that from other people, floop, throws the MP4 on your drive. And you know what? You can back that up. Throw it on a thumb drive. Watch it on your TV. I don't care. Watch it however you want. You should be able to watch a show you like however you want. That's just how I feel about it. And LBRY is actually a pretty cool way to do that. You can also get the MP3 RSS feed right there from the website and have at it. And if you want to help support the show, there's links somewhere. You can go help support the show. All right, everybody. I promise the sky is not falling just yet, but yeah, there's some problems. So if any of you disagree with the things I've said, feel free to say so in whatever place you feel like it. Just don't post it on social media because they will probably censor you for that. All right, I'll see you guys later.